Ladies and gentlemen of the press, thank you so much for coming out for today's press conference. We are joined by the National Chairperson, Honorable Morgan Komichi. We are also joined by the Secretary General of the party, Honorable Douglas Monzora, and we are joined by the National Organizing Secretary, Honorable Amos Shibaya. Right now, I'll hand over to the Chairperson to read us the press statement, then we'll open it for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Most welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to give you the progress about our primary elections. So far, is the part of excellence. MDC has conducted its primary elections, and we now have a list of our parliamentary candidates who will represent the MDC Alliance in the elections 2018. Even our alliance partners have also fielded the candidates, and we are working closely together to field the best candidate for the particular area. We are in the negotiation process with our partners in areas where we feel they are weak candidates. If a stronger candidate is coming from the alliance partner, we will support it. If a strong candidate is coming from us, we support it, so that we will have the best candidate to fight the battle. We concluded consensus building, and out of the consensus building, we got about 72 areas where people talked and agreed for the best candidate. Appeals were brought against the process, and we sat down as an appeals committee, and we attended to all appeals that came from the consensus process. We've started, we're almost 80% through now, of our primary elections. Our primary elections have been conducted by an independent commission to remove the bias, subjectivity. So far, we are very happy with the process. Democracy is taking place. We have so far received some of the appeals that have come from the process of primary elections. And within a few days to come, we are going to have now the appeals tribunal, which will look at these appeals. In the process of primary elections, we came with some elements who spearheaded violence. I want to warn those particular elements that justice will be done to. The heads will roll. We don't want people who would like to influence the process by using thugs or any unlawful means. We will not reward those bad elements involved, but we will punish them for doing whatever they did in various areas. The report is being compiled, and certain people might be disqualified. We have also gone through almost more than 9 days now of the voter inspection. We have identified a number of elements that are not okay. These anomalies that were found in the voter inspection process, it justifies why MDCT has been calling for the independent audit of the biometric voter roll. Reported incidents of details sent on cell phones from ZEC, not corresponding with the physical role, are worrisome. Some names are entered correctly, but the gender is incorrect. Others have received messages confirming their registration centers, but upon physical inspection, realized that they've been posted to a different polling station and their names are missing, or their names are missing completely from the roll. We've also received reports that where people are re-registering themselves, but in different wards and constituencies. Case in point is in the registration of residents of Ward 45 in Harare East onto the Ward 24 of Koromon South, Waters. And the commission of oaths to these affidavits is one other than Terrorism Coupe, whose recent notorious and treasonous utterance that the ZANU-PF regime will not accept an election result that favors the opposition leaves a lot to be desired. If ZEC cannot produce a clean voters roll, then it casts an aspersion on the credibility of this upcoming election. Little wonder why there was little information and voter education on the inspecting on the voters roll, and the refusal by ZEC to give us a copy of the provisional voters roll. We demand a suitable copy of this voters roll so that we are able to assist ZEC in identifying all the duplicates and fictitious names in the current roll. We continue to wonder the transparent around the ballot paper printing. We are barely a month away from the election, and our demand for an open tender system with regards to the printing of the ballot papers and other election materials has been ignored by the Mnangagwa administration. The MDC will not allow for the only amendment to Section 22A of the Electoral Act that allows the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to establish more polling stations for an area that has a larger voter population. We will not accept the establishment of designated polling stations, as this will open to the voter manipulation. From our experience, we've had voter polling stations opened in very dark areas. Some of the places would be in some hidden farms and so forth. So allowing this amendment would give ZEC the powers to manipulate the elections. For the avoidance of doubt, the following matters remain outstanding and need urgent resolution. A. Observation of the printing of the ballot papers. B. External / independent audit of the voters' roll. C. Militarization of ZEC. D. Militarization of the electoral process. E. The diaspora vote. F. That is election to be SADC and AU guaranteed. We demand that these and other reforms be implemented if this country is going to be to have a truly fair, free and credible election. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Now we open the floor for questions. If there are any questions.
That you have done in terms of the anomalies that you noted that appear in the that you noted during the inspection of the voters' roll.
Okay, thank you. What have we done with the anomalies? That's your question. Thank you. Is there another question? Yes.
Just in the beginning of his statement, he mentioned something about replacing a weaker candidate with a stronger candidate. I don't know how that fits in a democracy where people choose whom they think is best to represent them. Probably they may think that person is weak and may want to replace it. He could just explain on the stronger candidate, weak candidate part. And then only yesterday, this BT's PDP was complaining in Harare province. I'll just quote a bit here what they say. They say, we've been hoodwinked and taken for fools by those who think they own the electorate simply because they have a leader who is youthful. It's a statement that they made yesterday regarding that they are not being treated fairly with regards to the apportionment of parliamentary seats. Would you also comment on that?
All right, so your question is on stronger and weaker candidate. How does the party judge the strength of a candidate? And also about the PDP complaint. Thank you so much.
I think it's a general complaint from most of the alliance partners.
All right, Chairman.
Thank you very much. The first question from Comrade Machuni was that Honorable Vice President Zuri feels that he was contested, he was made to contest junior people. That is the challenge of democracy. Democracy is about the most popular or the more popular candidate of the contestation. However, the party recognizes cases of seniority and respect that very seriously. But it's very difficult to define seniority. Very difficult indeed. There's seniority by rank. For example, Comrade Komichi, national chairperson of the party. But there's also seniority by time and experience. Someone who joined the party in 1999 is also a senior. Here it comes. Do the people on the ground want seniority by rank or seniority by experience? No. People want the most popular candidate. If you are not careful, you can actually end up imposing a candidate on the people, which becomes very undemocratic. And the people don't go along with that, they don't support that. People know their rights, they fight back. It's a reality on the ground. However, when it comes to Vice President Zuri, the party has engaged the Vice President so as to manage the argument on the ground. The Vice President, Comrade Mzuri, Honorable Mzuri, has agreed to go on the Senate list. So, Honorable Mzuri did not contest in the primary elections that took place in the foreign park. Those perceived junior people contested among themselves. They have done primary elections in what, 15? Today in the afternoon, they are going to be completing what, 5? So by the end of the day, we'll be knowing the winner in Warren Park. So the party respects its leaders. We would not want to see the SG subjected to primary elections with junior people, nor the organizing secretary. We don't want that. So we've got a deliberate policy to engage our leaders as well as to respect the people on the ground. So we must look into that. Then we come to question number 3 from my friend Ray. How would you determine a weak and a strong candidate? The easiest way to come out with a strong candidate is a primary election. The barometer to gauge the strong candidate are the people. So where people feel that this candidate is weak, they always call for primaries. And as an alliance, we must respect that. So everybody is going to represent the people under MDC Alliance will go through a primary. So we are engaging with our partners to respect that and to make sure to recognize that the only way we can get a permanent is through a primary. So that's the negotiation that are taking place. So we're negotiating with our partners. We are quite clear and cognizant that if we are to go for primaries throughout the whole country, none of our alliance partners will get a seat. That's why there's a point of negotiation. I hope you've got that. Then the PDP feels wounded. These are some of the things that will happen on the ground. Don't forget our history. That MDCT people feel strongly that they want to put their candidates in all 210 constituencies. They feel strongly. Issues of constituencies are issues of the heart and the spirit. I have witnessed people that have come to my office for the last 3 weeks crying, shedding tears. Yesterday I was visited by a group of people that came from Good North, because Good North is under Zim people first. Women that came from Good North, all women, had 3 minutes of crying in my office that we need to put our own candidate in Good North. I'm like a counselor now. I've got 24 hours of work from morning to night, receiving people from various parts of the country who are complaining about constituencies. For example, there are East Territory. However, we provide leadership. In leadership, sometimes you make decisions that are unpopular with the people, but decisions that will then benefit the same people tomorrow. The president of the party, Honorable NC, is providing the leadership in that area, where the alliance should not be threatened, should not collapse. But we can only do that through engagement, negotiations, and dialogue. I am currently going through the process of engagement so that we respect the feelings and the wishes of the alliance, as well as the wishes and the feelings of the people on the ground. Otherwise, hapana chinobuda if we do not bring these two sides together. I think those are some questions that you can ask, but I want to refer the question of intervention into anomalies of the voters roll to the SG and the party.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think it is noteworthy that when the provision of voters roll was said to have come out, the MDC wrote to ZEC to be provided with the complete voters roll, an analyzable electronic version of the voters roll. The Zimbabwe Election Commission has refused to furnish us with a voters roll. They have insisted instead that there be individual verifications of the voters roll in the various centers. In terms of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, we are entitled to that information. We are entitled to all information that is necessary for the protection of our rights or defending of our interests. Therefore, if the ZEC persists in not giving us a copy of the voters roll, the provisional copy of the voters roll, we have a number of options available to us. One of them is obviously going to the courts. The other one is obviously taking extrajudicial remedies. We are hopeful that the Zimbabwe Election Commission will see sense in furnishing us as a key stakeholder with the voters' roll. For those anomalies that we have found, as a result of visiting the various centers, we have brought this to the attention of the Zimbabwe Election Commission, which has promised to rectify them. But should they not do that, there are quite a lot of options that are available. But the first option, of course, is to bring it to their attention, which we have done. We have also sought through the high-level political platform to engage with ZEC and the other two political parties in Parliament, ZANU-PF and the MDC. So our first method is to use the dialogue route that we have always wanted to use. We can only resort to other means if the dialogue route fails. But we find it anomalous that the Zimbabwe Election Commission has refused to give us a copy of the provisional voters' roll.
Thank you very much. One wonders, are we really going to get the voters' roll to inspect before this coming election? I'll open for another round of questions. I'll give opportunity to those who haven't spoken.
All right, my question is, you made the 10 peace demands to President Mnangagwa, which you argued that we're going to proffer the fundamentals for fair, free and credible elections. But it looks like those demands, they haven't been given the attention which you expected. Now, what is the way forward? Are you going to participate in an election even if the demands that you make are not met? Or what's the option? What's the party's position exactly regarding those demands that you made, but they haven't been met yet?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll give to you, then I'll come back to you.
You keep talking about the diaspora vote. Logistically, how do you see it yourself? Is they going to actually be able to find the resources and be able to register all the diasporans who are out there, Zimbabweans who are out there who are maybe eligible to vote as Zimbabwean citizens? Just under 2 months for Zimbabwe to hold the election.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I just want to seek clarification on the aspect of Mukoi. We hear that he's going to spill the beans in court on behalf of Thokozani Kobe. What really is behind? What really is has been happening behind the scenes? This violence in Geneva on behalf of the MDC by Mukoi.
All right, thank you. I'll take one more question and then we'll respond.
Alliance President Nelson Chamisa is on record saying that he had approached Maimo Juru and Badame for a possible coalition. Considering the time left, do we foresee the Mujuru camp joining the alliance?
All right, Frank, you've got a question, then I'll hand over.
Yeah, Vice President Elias Munzuri alleges that the template that the party agreed to has not been followed to the letter and spirit. For instance, there is an issue regarding the Langampura Chikanga constituency, where the Women's Assembly chairperson, what's her name, Kareni Kore, is being subjected to a rerun in a constituency that is reported to have been set aside for women, and she's being challenged by a male politician, in this case Mr. Mitsayami, who is a sitting MP in another constituencies. Why is this happening, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you very much, Frank. Honorable Committee, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. When we issued the 10 demands to the world at large, in particular to Comrade Mnangagwa, we were defining what he was trying to call free, fair, and credible elections. Because Comrade Mnangagwa never defined it. It was just rhetoric. Our question was simple. What do you mean by free, fair, and credible elections? Do you mean to say if someone goes to Muzarabani and burns someone's house? Does it mean that when someone goes to Dotito and kills a woman there, then that can be defined as a free and fair and credible elections? So we took it upon ourselves to define for him and the world at large. It is upon him to respond or to argue and dispute that what you mean free and fair election is not necessarily defined by the 10 demands. We've defined it for you. That's what we want. If we do not get these 10 demands, therefore elections to us will not be free, fair, and credible. And we will not endorse an election outcome that is outside these 10 demands. We have not lost hope. We still have something up the sleeve to make sure that the 10 demands are going to be met before the July election. I know you ask me what are those strategies that we have. The strategy is not a strategy if it's pronounced publicly. The strategy is a strategy and it remains up our sleeves. We are going to achieve what we want for the election. We will make him realize that it's not him to determine the election process this time around, but the people of Zimbabwe are going to speak. There's still time around that area. Comrade Mkoi, let's wait for him because we don't know what he means by saying he's going to spill the beans in the court. We don't know that. We don't want to preempt. We don't know what he knows. Probably knows what we don't know. So we're not in a position to speak on his behalf. The Grand Coalition is possible. Actually, we have received and addressed hundreds of people from NPP. We have traveled all the way from Rewa, from Uzumba, from Chikomba, and joined us in advance of their leaders. So I think when you get the support of the other part from the grassroots, it will be very easy to then join up with these top leaders. The Grand Coalition is a policy that we adopted, Grand Coalition, and we want more people to come and work with us so that we can go to election as united front. We don't want to have many parties, contesting against each other. We want to form a coalition that would confront ZANU-PF. So we're open to any newcomers to come and join us. So, in as far as the time is concerned, I don't think it's a very big challenge. I think the most important thing is that all people now have coalesced around the MDC Alliance. Many parties from ZANU-PF, so many people from ZANU-PF are behind the MDC Alliance. From ZAPU, from NPP, and the many other political parties. Their supporters are now working with us. That's why you see our rallies, they've grown big. It's because new members have joined us. The template was not respected. I think it's an opinion. Because it is the template that has taken us up to this stage. As I said before, one of the most challenging sections of the template was the question of seniority. Very challenging. Otherwise, as I said before, that particular part of the template would actually mean imposition of candidates on the people. But as a party, we respect. But there's a point where you should always meet people's feelings. Because if you ignore the people's feelings, you have an outcry on the ground where people will say, Matipa mu. But in principle, as a party, we respect the template. There are other elements of the template which we respect so much. The youth quota and the women quota. We respect that. It's a matter of principle. As the leadership, we want to see those policies implemented. But don't forget, you don't implement a policy on a rock or on a dead tree. You implement a policy on the people who claim to have their own rights. I've got areas where such policies have met with some bit of resistance. One case is the one that you've just quoted. It doesn't mean that the party does not respect the quota. No, it's not. We respect the quota. We want it to be implemented. But as I said, you don't implement the policy on a rock. You implement the policy on the people. And the policy to succeed, it must be popularly supported. If the people don't support your policy, the outcome would be very negative. But as a party, we respect the women quota and the youth quota. Can I ask the Secretary General of the party to respond to the diaspora?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me just, with your permission, go back to the Shakespeare Mokoi question. I think the source of the question, the Shakespeare Mokoi question, if I may go back to it, I think the source of that question is the tweet that was done by Mr. Gudu yesterday. In other words, it was Mr. Gudu who said that Shakespeare Mokoi will testify. The way I read that was that Mr. Gudu was simply being sarcastic, and it was simple political banter. It is not Shakespeare himself who said he is going to testify against the party. At no point did he say that. It is a comment by a third party, and being a comment by a third party, for us, it is less worrying because it's not coming from our member at all. It's coming from someone else. Then the second question regarding the diaspora vote. Now, Zimbabwe in fact has a diaspora vote. People can vote in ward elections, in parliamentary elections, and the presidential election while outside the country. For example, a person can vote for those three while they are in London on condition that they work for government. So in other words, a Zimbabwean who is in London can vote from London as long as he works for government. The argument by the MDC is that that right must extend to the nurse next door, Zimbabwean nurse next door, who does not work for government. So the same facilities must be given. So it is possible to simply extend the coverage of those facilities to include other Zimbabweans who do not work for government. The fact that government workers can vote from the diaspora while other Zimbabweans can't means that there is inherent discrimination and disenfranchisement, and that is unacceptable. Secondly, we have said to ZEC that if their problem is logistical, in other words, if they think that it will be difficult to post all those votes to the various wards and so on, there is still another way. We can, if that is the problem, we can limit the diaspora vote to the presidential election. Because in the presidential election, then Zimbabwe is one constituency, and people can vote from the diaspora. We do have 4 million Zimbabweans outside this country who have a right in who is going to govern Zimbabwe next, because it determines their fate. They may want to come home and so on. So we have 4 million people who are being disenfranchised. We are not inventing the wheel when we call for diaspora vote. Mozambicans vote in Mozambican elections in this country. Malawians, the same. And just a few weeks ago, the Russian Federation people voted in the Russian election in this country. There were 2 polling stations, one in Harare and one in Bulawayo, for the Russians to vote in the Russian election. Now, Russia is a good friend of Zimbabwe, isn't it? And if they are friends, this is what we put to the government. If your friends, the Russians, have the diaspora vote, what moral right do you, as Zimbabweans, have in refusing the diaspora vote? I have heard a discussion, an argument coming from Honorable Mangwana regarding the justification of the diaspora vote, of denying the diaspora vote. And ZANU-PF says they do not accept the diaspora vote because they can't campaign in the diaspora. They are under sanctions in the diaspora. Now, we all know that the so-called sanctions have been removed, basically. And we all know that in those countries where we have concentration of Zimbabweans, ZANU-PF actually has structures there. And one such outstanding member is the chairperson of ZANU-PF in the United Kingdom. His name is Nicholas Mangwana. He is campaigning for ZANU-PF right there in the diaspora. And therefore the argument does not make sense. There is no justification for disenfranchising of any Zimbabweans. So the issue of the diaspora vote is not logistical. It is simply absence of political will on the part of the government of President Mnangagwa, which indicates left and turns right.
Right. Thank you so much. Can I do another question?
I think they're happy.